My stepmother said real daughters don't charge their parents rent, so I showed her the lease she'd made me sign at 18. The room went dead silent. My dad shifted in his seat, uncomfortable. My half-brother suddenly found his phone fascinating, but my stepmother just stared at the document like it might catch fire. That's different, she finally said. You were practically an adult. We were teaching you responsibility. I was 18 and still in high school. She'd moved into our house 6 months after my mom died, brought her son along, and immediately started charging me $400 a month for my own childhood bedroom. Meanwhile, her son got the guest room for free, because he's family. When I turned 19, she bumped it to $600, said I needed to learn about market rates. By 20, it was $750 plus utilities. I was working full-time at a grocery store and taking community college classes at night. I'd come home exhausted to find my stepmother had eaten food I'd labeled with my name, because apparently she didn't think I'd mind sharing. Her son graduated college last year and moved back home rent-free. He's been living in our basement for 8 months now, playing video games and working part-time at his mom's friend's office. No rent, no groceries, doesn't even do his own laundry. Last week, my dad called and asked me over for Sunday dinner. I hadn't been back in 6 months, not since I'd finally saved up enough to move out. When I got there, my stepmother had prepared this whole speech about family sticking together, about how she and my dad were getting older and needed help with the mortgage, about how real children take care of their parents. We're asking everyone to contribute $500 a month, she announced, just until we get back on our feet. I looked at my half-brother. Everyone? Well, my stepmother said. He's still finding himself. You have a stable job. I work as a bank teller. Her son makes more than me doing data entry 3 days a week. That's when she hit me with the real daughter line, as if I hadn't paid her $43,000 over 5 years while her son paid nothing. As if I hadn't been buying my own groceries since I was 18 while he raided the fridge freely. As if I wasn't the one who helped my dad through recovery after his surgery, because she'd been too stressed to handle it. I pulled out my phone and showed them my spreadsheet. Every rent payment, every utility bill, every grocery receipt for food she'd eaten. 5 years of documentation. You owe me $43,000, I said calmly, plus interest, and emotional damages for telling a grieving teenager that her dead mother's house was now a rental property. My dad's face went white. He'd never once asked where that money went, never questioned why his daughter was working herself into the ground. He'd just let her handle it, because dealing with his new wife was easier than dealing with his own guilt. That's ridiculous, my stepmother sputtered. That money went toward household expenses. I pulled out another document, my dad's mortgage statements, which I'd requested last month. The house had been paid off 3 years before my mom died. There was no mortgage to help with. Where did my $43,000 go? I asked. The silence was deafening. My half-brother finally looked up from his phone. Even he seemed curious now. My stepmother's face went from red to pale. That's none of your business. That money was rent. We can spend it however we want. Actually, I said, standing up, since you made me sign a lease, this is a legal rental agreement, which means I'm entitled to receipts showing where my payments went toward property expenses. And if you can't produce them, we have a real problem. I started walking toward the door. Behind me, my dad finally found his voice. Wait, he said. Let's just talk about this. But I'd stopped talking 5 years ago, the moment they made me pay to grieve in my own home. I turned around one last time. I'll be back next week with my lawyer. We can talk then. My stepmother's expression shifted. Something flickered across her face. Fear, maybe, or anger. She grabbed my dad's arm and whispered something I couldn't quite make out. But I caught 2 words. The account. My stomach dropped. What account? I stopped at the door and turned around slowly. What account? I repeated. Her grip on my dad's arm tightened, knuckles going white. My dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Nothing, she said quickly. Just forget it. But I couldn't forget it, not with the way she'd said it, not with that panic in her voice. Dad, I said, what account is she talking about? He opened his mouth, closed it, and looked at his wife like he needed permission to speak in his own house. It's complicated, he finally managed. It's not complicated, I said. My half-brother had set his phone down now. He was watching this unfold with the same look he'd had when I pulled out the mortgage statements, like he was starting to realize his mother might not be who he thought she was. My stepmother stood up. You need to leave. Now. Not until someone tells me what account you mean. It's none of your concern. My $43,000 is very much my concern. She laughed, actually laughed. You think this is about your rent money? You're so naive. Something in her tone chilled me. This wasn't about rent. This was bigger. I pulled out my phone again and started recording. Tell me about the account, I said, or I'm calling the police and reporting fraud. You can't prove anything. Try me. We stared at each other. 5 years of resentment crystallized in that moment. 5 years of her treating me like an ATM while her son lived in luxury. 5 years of my dad standing by and watching it happen. Fine, she said. You want to know? Your precious mother left you a trust fund. $180,000 to be exact. To be given to you when you turn 21. The room tilted. My mother had left me money. $180,000. I'd turned 21 3 years ago. Where is it? My voice came out strangled. My stepmother smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. Gone. What do you mean, gone? Your father was listed as trustee, which meant he had full control until you reached the designated age. And your father signed over management rights to me when we got married. I looked at my dad. You gave her control of my mother's money? He couldn't even look at me, just stared at his hands as if they held answers he couldn't give. I was the one managing the household finances, my stepmother went on. It made sense. And that money was just sitting there, earning nothing. So I invested it. Invested it where? Another pause, longer this time. Her business failed, my half-brother said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. He was still staring at his phone, but his face had gone pale. The boutique. That's where the money went. My stepmother flushed. Be quiet. No, he said, looking up. She's asking a legitimate question. The boutique you opened 4 years ago. The one that closed last year. That was her money, wasn't it? The pieces started falling into place. The boutique that had opened right after I turned 21. My stepmother's sudden excitement about finally chasing her dreams. The expensive renovations. The designer inventory. The grand opening party that cost more than my entire year's rent. You stole my inheritance. I said slowly, and used it to open a store. I didn't steal anything. I was the legal manager of the account. Did you tell me about the money? Silence. Did you tell me my mother left me $180,000? More silence. Answer the question. You were young. You would have wasted it. So you wasted it for me? It was an investment. A business opportunity. You wouldn't understand. I understand that you stole my money and then charged me rent in my own house. It wasn't stealing. I had legal authority. Did my father know you were using it for your store? I looked at my dad again. He'd started crying, silent tears sliding down his face. Dad, did you know? She said it was a good investment, he whispered. She said we'd pay you back with interest once the store took off. The store that failed. He nodded. So you knew she was spending my inheritance and you still made me pay rent? We needed the income. The store was hemorrhaging money. We had bills. I felt like I was underwater, everything muffled and distant. My mother had left me money. Enough to pay for college without juggling 3 jobs. Enough to get my own place without living in a basement studio with 3 roommates. Enough to breathe. And they'd stolen it. Not borrowed, stolen. Because they'd never told me it existed in the first place. How much of my rent money went into keeping that store alive? I asked. My stepmother lifted her chin. All of it. We were trying to save the business, for the family, for everyone's future, for your future, your store, your dream. Built with my mother's money and propped up with mine. You don't understand business. I understand theft. I turned to my half-brother. Did you know? He shook his head. Not until last year. I overheard them fighting about it after the store closed. Mom was panicking about how to tell you. So the plan was to never tell me, and just ask me for more money instead. We were going to tell you, my stepmother said. Eventually. Once we figured out how to pay you back. With what money? The mortgage that doesn't exist? The bills you claimed you couldn't afford while taking weekend trips to wine country? Those were business trips. For the business that failed. She had no answer for that. I looked at my dad, really looked at him, this man who'd held me when my mother died, who'd promised we'd get through it together, who'd let his new wife move in and take over like my mother never existed. Did you ever love her? I asked. Mom, did you love her? Of course I did. Then how could you let this happen? How could you watch someone steal from your daughter from your dead wife's legacy to her own child? I thought we were doing the right thing. The right thing would have been telling me about the money. The right thing would have been protecting my inheritance. The right thing would have been being my father. He didn't respond. Couldn't. I walked back to the table, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door again. Where are you going? My stepmother asked. To call my lawyer. And the police. You can't prove anything. I was the legal trustee. I had every right to invest that money. Without informing the beneficiary, without any documentation of how it was spent, without any attempt to replace it once the investment failed. Let's see what a judge thinks. We'll fight this. Good. I have 5 years of rent payments as evidence that you knew exactly what you were doing. You knew I had no money because you'd already taken it and you charged me anyway. You bled me dry twice. I reached the door. Wait, my half-brother said. I turned around. He was standing now, staring at his mother with an expression I'd never seen on him before. Disgust. I have the bank statements, he said quietly. My stepmother's face went sheet white. What? From the trust account. I found them last month looking for tax documents in your office. I made copies. You did what? I made copies because I had a feeling this would eventually come out and you'd try to talk your way around it. He pulled out his phone and started typing. I just sent them to you, he told me. My phone buzzed a file transfer. Dozens of pages of bank statements. I opened the first one. The account had been opened with $180,000. My mother's name listed as original owner, mine as beneficiary, my father as trustee until I turned 21, at which point control was supposed to pass to me. It hadn't. Instead, there were monthly withdrawals starting 4 years back. Large ones. And a $2,000 for the boutique deposit, $8,000 for renovations, $12,000 for inventory, month after month until the account was empty. The last withdrawal was 3 months ago, $247 the remaining balance. My inheritance, gone. And in those same statements, I could see deposits too, my rent payments, $400, then $600, then $750, every month, going into the same account being drained for the boutique. They hadn't just spent my inheritance. They'd used my rent to try to keep the account from hitting zero, to hide what they'd done. Thank you, I said to my half-brother. He nodded. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. You were protecting your mother. I was being a coward. I looked at my stepmother. She'd collapsed back into her chair, face buried in her hands. You'll be hearing from my lawyer, I said, and possibly the DA's office, depending on what she recommends. We don't have the money to pay you back, she said through her fingers. The house is mortgaged now. We took out a loan to cover the store's debts. We have nothing. You have this house. You can't take our home. It's not your home. It was my mother's house. She left it to my father, and when he dies, it was supposed to come to me, but apparently you've mortgaged that too. My dad finally spoke. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 4 years of my life. Sorry doesn't give me back my mother's money. Sorry doesn't undo the fact that you chose her over me. I didn't choose you. You chose her. Every day. Every time you let her charge me rent. Every time you watched me work myself sick. Every time you said nothing while she treated your daughter like a tenant in her own home. That was choosing. I left. Walked out of that house and didn't look back. In my car, I sat in the driveway for a long moment, my hands shaking, my whole body shaking. $180,000. My mother had left me $180,000, and I'd never known. I drove to my apartment, the basement studio that cost me $1,200 a month, the place I'd thought was my escape from them, though I'd only been able to afford it because I'd finally stopped paying rent at their house. If I'd had my inheritance, I could have bought a condo, could have finished college, could have had a life. Instead, I had a bank teller job, student loans, and an apartment that smelled like mildew. I called the lawyer I'd been consulting with for the past month, laid everything out, and sent her the bank statements my half-brother had forwarded. She was quiet for a long time after I finished. This is fraud, she finally said. Clear, actionable fraud. Your father had a fiduciary duty as trustee. By letting your stepmother drain the account and failing to inform you once you turned 21, he violated that duty. And your stepmother's actions amount to embezzlement. Can I get the money back? We can try. But if they've mortgaged the house and have no assets, collecting will be tough. We might be able to force a sale, but that takes time, and legal fees will eat into whatever we recover. I don't care about the fees. I want them to face consequences. Then we'll will pursue both civil and criminal charges. The DA might be interested in the criminal side, especially given the amount and the deliberate concealment. Do it. I hung up and sat in my apartment in the dark. My mother had died when I was 17. She'd been sick 2 years before that, cancer, the kind that takes everything slowly. I remembered her last days, the hospital room, the way she gripped my hand. "I've made sure you'll be taken care of," she'd whispered. "There's money. For college. For your future. Your dad knows. Don't let anyone take it from you." I'd thought she was delirious. The morphine talking. But she'd been trying to warn me. Don't let anyone take it from you. And I hadn't even known there was anything to take. My phone rang. My half-brother. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I should have said something sooner. She's my mom. I didn't want to believe she'd do something like this. But she did. Yeah, she did." Silence. "There's more," he said. "I found something else going through her files." "What?" "A life insurance policy. On your dad." My stomach dropped again. "What about it?" "It's for $500,000 and your stepmother's the sole beneficiary. Your name isn't on it anywhere." "When was it taken out?" 2 years ago. Right before the store started really tanking. "Did dad know about it?" "I don't know, but I thought you should." I thanked him and hung up. A life insurance policy. $500,000. Taken out right as their finances turned desperate. My dad was 58. Healthy. But he'd had that surgery last year, minor complications, nothing serious. Still, I pushed the thought away. No, they wouldn't. She wouldn't. But then I remembered how hard my stepmother had pushed for that surgery. How insistent she'd been that he get it done immediately, even though his doctor said it could wait. How she'd handled all the medical paperwork herself. I called my lawyer back. "I need you to look into something else," I said. The next morning, I went to work at the bank like normal, smiled at customers, counted money, processed transactions. But inside, I was numb. Everything I'd believed about my life for the past 5 years turned out to be a lie. During my lunch break, a detective called. My lawyer had contacted the DA's office, and they were interested in pressing charges. They wanted me to come in for an interview. I went that afternoon. The detective was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes. She listened to my story, went through the bank statements, took notes. "This is definitely fraud," she said. "The question is whether we can make it stick. Your father will claim he believed his wife was managing the money appropriately. Your stepmother will claim she had legal authority as trustee manager. It'll come down to proving intent." "The rent," I said. "They charged me rent while spending my inheritance. Doesn't that show intent? They knew I had no money because they'd already taken it. It helps, but we need more. Any written communication, emails, texts, anything where they acknowledge what they did?" I shook my head. "Then we need to get them talking. Would you be willing to wear a wire, meet with them, and get them to admit what happened?" I hesitated. "I know it's a lot to ask," she said. "But without a recorded confession, this turns into a he said, she said. Your father and stepmother will have expensive lawyers arguing this was all a misunderstanding. A family dispute, not a criminal matter. If I do this," I said, "will you also look into the life insurance policy?" She frowned. "What life insurance policy?" I explained the timing, the amount, the fact my name had been dropped as beneficiary right as my stepmother's business collapsed. Her expression changed. "That's concerning, especially paired with the theft. I'll look into it. But first, let's get that confession." 3 days later, I called my dad. "Can we talk?" I asked. "Just the two of us." He sounded relieved. "Yes, please. I need to explain. We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. I wore the wire taped under my shirt. My dad looked like he'd aged 10 years and a weak dark circles under his eyes. Unshaven, rumpled clothes. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. "I know you have every right to hate me. I don't hate you. I'm just trying to understand. I never meant for any of this to happen. You have to believe that. Help me understand then. When did you find out what she was doing with the trust money?" He looked down at his coffee. "Right from the start. When she wanted to open the boutique, she came to me with a business plan, said she needed seed money. I told her we didn't have any. That's when she brought up your trust. So you knew from the beginning she was using my inheritance. She said it was an investment that the store would be profitable and we'd pay you back with interest. It seemed like a reasonable opportunity. Her friend owned the property, gave us a great rate on rent. She had retail experience. It made sense. Did you tell me about the trust? She said we should wait, that if we told you, you might want to spend it on other things. Less sensible things. You were only 21, still figuring yourself out. So you decided for me. We decided together as your parents. She's not my parent." He flinched. "She's been a mother to you. A mother who charged me rent in my dead mother's house while spending my inheritance. That wasn't the plan. The store was supposed to make money, but the market shifted. Online shopping took over. Her inventory was too expensive. We kept sinking more and trying to save it. By the time we realized it was failing, the trust was nearly empty. So you started using my rent to cover the losses. We needed the income. We had the mortgage. There was no mortgage. You paid it off years ago. We took out a new one to cover the store's debts, to avoid bankruptcy. And instead of telling me any of that, you just kept taking my money. We were trying to fix it before you found out. How long were you planning to keep lying to me?" He didn't answer. "Dad, how long?" "Until we figured out a way to pay you back." "With what money? You just said you're broke." "I thought maybe I could borrow against my retirement. Sell some things. I don't know. I just knew I couldn't lose you too. You lost me the moment you chose her over me. I didn't choose her over you." "Yes, you did. Every single day. When Mom died, you had one job: protect me. Protect her legacy. Instead, you brought someone into our home who saw me as a paycheck, who saw Mom's money as a business opportunity, who treated your grieving daughter like a tenant. I loved your mother. Then why did you let her memory get erased? Why did you let this woman move in and take over like Mom never existed? Her pictures came down. Her furniture got sold. Her garden was torn up. It's like you couldn't wait to replace her. That's not fair. What's not fair is I spent 5 years paying rent while you spent my inheritance. What's not fair is I worked myself sick while your stepson lived for free. What's not fair is my mother's last gift to me was stolen and I didn't even know it existed. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. What do you want me to do? I want you to admit what you did. On the record. I want you to take responsibility. I am taking responsibility. I'm telling you everything right now. I need you to say it clearly. For the record. Did you knowingly let your wife spend my trust fund on her business without telling me? me, he looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the exact moment he realized something was off. Are you recording this? I didn't answer. Are you wearing a wire? Does it matter? Either you're telling the truth or you're not. He stood up so fast his chair tipped over. You're recording me. You're trying to get me arrested. I'm trying to get justice. I'm your father. Then act like it. Admit what you did. Help me get my money back. I can't go to prison. I'll lose everything. You already lost everything. You lost your daughter. You lost your integrity. You lost your house. All you have left is the truth. He grabbed his coat and started backing away. Dad, please. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry, but I can't. He left. I sat there alone, the wire still recording, the detective's voice in my earpiece telling me it was okay, that I'd done good, that we had enough, but it didn't feel like enough. That night, my stepmother called. You bitch, she hissed. You tried to entrap him. Your own father. He entrapped himself by stealing from me. We're not giving you anything. Not a single dollar. And if you try to take this to court, we'll fight you every step of the way. We'll drag it out for years, bleed you dry in legal fees. By the time you get anything, you'll have spent more than you recovered. Maybe. But at least everyone will know what you did. Your friends. Your family. Everyone in this town will know you're a thief. Silence. We can come to an arrangement, she finally said. Off the record. No lawyers, no charges. We'll pay you back. Eventually. With what money? We'll figure it out. But this stays between us. No police, no court. Family handles things privately. We're not family. Think about your father. Think about what prison would do to him. He's not a criminal. He made a mistake. He made a choice. Please, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. Just don't destroy our lives. You destroyed mine first. I hung up. The next morning, the detective called. We're moving forward with charges. Fraud, embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty. Your father and stepmother will be arrested within the week. What about the life insurance? We're looking into it. I spoke with your father's doctor about that surgery last year. It wasn't medically necessary. His doctor actually recommended against it. Said the risks outweighed the benefits. But your stepmother pushed hard for it. Insisted. Made all the appointments. Filled out all the paperwork herself. My blood ran cold. You think she was trying to kill him? I think she was hoping for complications. A $500,000 payout would have solved all their financial problems. But I can't prove intent. Not yet. What can you prove? That she took out a massive life insurance policy on your father right as her business was failing. That she removed you as beneficiary. That she pushed for unnecessary surgery. And that she's been systematically stealing from you for years. Together it paints a picture. What happens now? We build our case. We arrest them. We let the DA decide whether to pursue attempted fraud on the insurance angle, or just stick with the embezzlement charges. And the money, my inheritance? That's civil court. Separate process. But criminal convictions will strengthen your case considerably. They might be forced to sell the house to pay me back. They mortgaged it. There might not be much equity left. Then they'll figure something else out. Retirement accounts, settlements. Bankruptcy doesn't discharge intentional fraud. One way or another, they'll owe you. But money wasn't really what I wanted anymore. I wanted my mother back. I wanted those 5 years back. I wanted to stop feeling like an idiot for trusting my own father. None of that was recoverable. The arrest happened on a Tuesday. I didn't go watch, didn't want to see my dad in handcuffs, didn't want to see my stepmother's face, but I saw the pictures later. Local news covered it. Couple arrested for embezzling dead wife's trust fund. The headline read. My phone exploded. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Old high school friends. Coworkers. Everyone suddenly had opinions. Some were supportive. Good for you. They deserved it. Others thought I was vindictive. How could you do that to your own father? To family. I deleted social media. Changed my number. Moved to a new apartment. My half-brother reached out by email. He'd moved out too. Cut ties with his mother, was sleeping on a friend's couch while job hunting. I testified against her, he wrote. Gave them everything I had, all the bank statements, all the documents. I couldn't watch her destroy another person. I appreciated it but couldn't bring myself to respond. He was still her son. Still part of that family. Still a reminder of everything I'd lost. The trial took 8 months. My stepmother pleaded guilty to embezzlement and fraud, got 3 years in prison, plus restitution orders for $180,000 plus interest. My father pleaded guilty to breach of fiduciary duty, got 2 years probation and community service, also liable for restitution. The house was sold. After paying off the mortgage, $127,000 was left. I got all of it. Nowhere near $180,000. Not close to what I'd actually lost, but it was something. I used it to finish my degree, move to a new city, start over. Some nights, though, I still lie awake thinking about that dinner, about the moment my stepmother mentioned the account, about how different my life might have been if they'd just told the truth. I think about my mother, about how hard she'd worked to leave me something, about how she'd specifically told my dad to protect it, about how her last words to me were a warning I hadn't understood. Don't let anyone take it from you. But someone had. Multiple someones. And I'd been powerless to stop it because I hadn't even known what I was losing. 3 years later, I got a letter from my father. He'd finished probation, was living in a small apartment, working as a cashier at a hardware store. His retirement was gone, seized for restitution. His reputation was in ruins. His wife was still in prison. I know you'll never forgive me, he wrote. I don't forgive myself, but I want you to know I loved your mother. I loved you. I just got lost. And by the time I realized how lost I was, it was too late to find my way back. I hope you're happy. I hope you finished school. I hope you found someone who treats you better than I did. You deserved better. You always deserved better. I didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Last month, my stepmother got out of prison early for good behavior. She tried to reach me through my old email, wanted to make amends, wanted to explain her side of the story, wanted me to understand she'd made mistakes, but wasn't a bad person. I blocked her. I'm 29 now. I have my degree, a good job, an apartment that doesn't smell like mildew, a life that's mine. But I still can't walk past a boutique without feeling rage. Still flinch at the word rent. Still can't fully trust anyone who claims to have my best interests at heart. My half-brother got married last year, sent me an invitation. I I didn't go, but I did send a gift, a small one, because in the end he'd done the right thing, even when it cost him his mother. Sometimes I wonder what my life would have looked like if my stepmother had simply told me about the trust when I turned 21. If she'd said, "Your mother left you money, let's figure out how to use it wisely." Maybe I would have invested it poorly, blown it on something stupid, but at least it would have been my choice, my mistakes to make, my life to live. Instead, someone else made those choices for me. Someone who saw my grief as an opportunity, my inheritance as a business loan, my presence as a source of income, and my father let it happen. That's the part I still can't forgive. Not the theft itself, but the passivity. The way he just stood back and watched. The way he chose comfort over courage. The way he protected his new life instead of his daughter. I'm in therapy now, working through it, learning to trust again, learning that not everyone's looking to exploit me, learning that I deserve more than the bare minimum. It's slow work, but it's my work, my choice, my life, and nobody can take that from me. Not anymore. Last week I drove past my old house. The new owners had painted it blue, put in a new garden, added a swing set out back. It looked happy, like a home where kids laugh and parents show up and nobody has to pay rent to grieve. I didn't stop. Didn't feel nostalgic. Didn't even feel sad. Just relieved. Relieved it wasn't mine anymore. Relieved I'd escaped. Relieved the worst was over. I drove to the cemetery instead. First time in years. Found my mother's grave, still well kept. Fresh flowers. Someone had been visiting. I sat down on the grass beside her headstone. "I got your money back," I said. "Not all of it, but enough. Enough to finish school. Enough to start over. You tried to warn me. I'm sorry I didn't understand." The wind moved through the trees. A bird sang somewhere nearby. "I miss you," I whispered. "Every day. And I'm sorry Dad let you down. I'm sorry he let us both down." I stayed there for an hour, talking to her about my life, my job, my apartment, my plans for the future. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt like maybe things would be okay. Not perfect, not erased, but okay. Because I'd fought back. I'd stood up for myself. I'd refused to be a victim, just like she would have wanted. I got up to leave, brushing grass off my jeans, and started walking back to my car. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is your father. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I filed for divorce." She got out last month and immediately started planning another business, using my name, my credit. I finally realized she'll never change. I'm sorry it took me this long to see it. I hope you're well. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it. Too little, too late. I drove home to my apartment, my space, my sanctuary, made dinner, watched a movie, went to bed early, and slept better than I had in years because I was finally free. Free from their manipulation. Free from their lies. Free from the weight of trying to earn love from people who saw me as a transaction. I was free. And that was worth more than $180,000 could ever buy.